Hey guys, what's going on? It's Kodiak here, back for another video, and today we are talking about tips for Legion. So we've broken down a bunch of good tips based on a Reddit post that you guys may have seen over the past couple days. I went through all of the comments, I looked for some of the things that kind of disproved some of the main points, and then adjusted some of them. So there's some really good tips here. I'm going to break it into a few different sections. So if you want to jump to any of those sections in the video, now is your chance. We're going to be covering leveling, artifact power, artifact relics, fresh 110 progression, Suramar, and a little bit of professions. So there you go. If you want to jump to any of the sections, you're more than welcome to do so. But let's start right at the beginning with leveling. So at the beginning, I highly recommend before we hit Legion that you get a few Goblin gliders or similar tools that you may have picked up over your time in Warlords of Draenor, or maybe your engineering friend has something. Those are going to be great, especially as we often find ourselves in higher altitudes or on mountainsides or whatnot. We need a Goblin glider. It's going to make our lives a little bit easier. Highly recommend picking up one or two of those tools, maybe something else that you may want. The leatherworking tent does count as a rested XP area. I'm not sure if you can use it in Legion. I don't actually know that for a fact, but I do know that it does provide rested XP, so that is great if you want to change talents with the leatherworking tent. So there you go. There's your first little quick tip. The next one is leveling as a different spec is not a bad thing. Okay, we've talked a lot about trying to use an alt spec to level and then playing on your main, and are you going to fall behind in your artifact power and so on and so forth. Leveling as a different spec is not that big of a deal because you're really not going to set your main spec behind. The artifact power, artifact knowledge stuff is so minimal at that point that you guys got to remember that leveling is really a very small portion of what we're going to be doing in Legion. So play what you want, guys. If you're a hunter and you want to play beast mastery instead of marksman, or you want to play survival, just go for it. Just play what you want, level how you want. It's a very small portion of what we're going to be doing in Legion. So there you go. The next thing I want to talk about is the jump-in points. So after you finish your artifact quests, you're going to get an option to join a certain assault in each region of the Isles there. Now, I would highly recommend players that are interested in an Aviana's Feather type toy to go to High Mountain. You can change your zone after you've started the initial assault by going back to your class order hall, but there is an Aviana's Feather type object in the High Mountains. You can wowhead that. You'll be able to figure out where that is. I highly recommend getting that because before we can fly in Legion, it's going to be a really great tool to get us around quickly. Say we need to move from place to place that may not be on a flight path or whatnot. Great little tool there. We'll talk a little bit more about where else you should go once you've gotten your Aviana's Feather. So you'll hit 110 without gaining much artifact power, right? But so don't worry about it too much. You'll hit 10, and then you'll gain the artifact power after that. So don't stress about it, guys. Don't stress about it at all. That being said, though, you are going to want to capture some of the artifact relics. So the artifact relics drop from quests. They drop from raid bosses, things like that. Obviously, we're not going to be doing raid bosses right off the bat, but they do drop from quests, and they are quite rare. So make sure you're holding on to those. You can also use a little trick here where you can switch your main, your loot specialization to the artifact relic that you want, and then accept the quest, okay? So don't forget that. Don't blindly rush through all your quests and forget that you can kind of store up your relics based on which spec preference you pick. So that's a really great little tip there, guys. Your order hall has some followers, very similar to the Warlords of Draenor style bodyguard followers, but what they do is they provide a function. So there is one that it's a warlock. He has a 3-minute cooldown which stuns an enemy and increases damage that they take, okay? And you can get these abilities through a combat ally space in your follower management window. So very similar to the bodyguard function. They kind of thinned it out a little bit, but still providing a pretty cool set of skills for you to take along as we're leveling. You never know. That 3-minute cooldown may save your life one time, which saves you some time, and that's great. We always want to make sure that we're trying to get through this stuff as efficiently as possible. Provides just another little layer. It's kind of cool. So there also is bonus areas, very similar to how they were in Warlords of Draenor, and these do disappear at 110. You can complete them if you want to, but I would highly recommend doing the ones as you level because they're going to provide you with, obviously, experience. They're going to provide you with that little cushion that everybody likes to sit on, and in case you get up to a point where you only have like 1 or 2 quests left and you're not quite to the next level. So do those bonus areas, guys. They will disappear at 110. Great little tip there. So work on your class campaign once you hit 102. Okay, don't forget this. The faster you start your class campaign, the more smoothly the rest of the leveling experience goes, the smoother everything kind of gets moved into motion. So make sure to check out the class campaign at 102. Get it going. You won't regret it. So completing all the zones doesn't get you that much, right? But being friendly with each faction unlocks world quests, and those are really key. So if you're close to 110 and you haven't started a zone, I would highly recommend working on that. And you can go back to those bonus areas before you hit 110 and work on those. So make sure you guys are focused on the reputation stuff. Don't forget that leveling is a very small part of the overall progression. So just keep that in mind as you're going through all of the Legion content. And that brings us to talking about the actual order hall itself. Now, the order hall at tier 1 gives you a selection. You can have a higher chance for quest upgrades or a 20% increased chance for mission success on the first mission of each day. Now, my recommendation for this is to take the mission success, and I'll tell you why. One thing people don't realize is that the Order Hall Achievement Tier 1 that gives you a higher upgrade chance to your gear only applies to one-time quests. So world quests are not part of this, and they're considered repeats. So world quests do scale though. So for example, at around 810 item level, I was seeing about 805 World Quest gear. Now at about 850 item level, I was seeing about 845 World Quest gear. So it scales, guys. So that won't ever be useless. But because they're considered repeat quests, that upgrade chance isn't going to apply. So I would take the mission success chance. That's a really positive boost on the first mission of each day, which could be your most difficult one if you plan it right? All right, moving on to the second section here, Artifact Power. Artifact knowledge work orders unlocked in your class hall when you hit 110. You want to start these ASAP. This is how we're going to level up our artifacts. So once you hit 110, artifact knowledge work orders, boom, get them done, get them going. Each one takes 2 days, and they grant you a percentage of additional artifact power that stack every day. Initially, the guy had said it's 25%. That is not right. There is a chart if you want to look at it. It is a very strange scaling system. Much smarter people than me have made some videos on it. So if you want to look at that, please go ahead, do so. But all you need to know is that you need to start your artifact knowledge work orders as soon as you hit 110. Simple as pie. Now, the artifact power doesn't really tie you to a spec for a while. The first 14 artifact points, the first 13 artifact points are relatively free, a relatively low point value. The 14th one, however, is a total of all of those first 13 put together. Okay, so let's call the first 13 safe. Everything after that is going to cost you a lot. So make sure you're really paying attention to what you're doing. Make sure you know exactly where you want to put your points, because at some point you're going to start costing yourself and setting yourself back. So let's move on to the artifact relics. I mentioned those before. So the relics are pretty rare, and they're mostly found from quests. So they're very valuable. Make sure you're hoarding those. Make sure you are taking the time to get them, one, and to make sure that you're getting them for the right spec. So as I said before, you can change which loot spec you want to get the rewards, the relic rewards that you want. So if you're playing up your Master Monk and you want Windwalker ones just because it's your off spec and you sometimes Windwalker for your team, switch your loot spec, boom, now you have Windwalker relics. It's awesome. When you complete your class quest line, which is sooner than you think, you'll unlock the third relic slot. So try and have a spare relic available to fill that weapon slot. Luckily, that quest does reward a relic, but if you have one that you really want and is ideal for that slot, then boom, you already have it. You're already prepared. Preparation is the name of the game. So let's talk about 110. What do we do at 110? World quests are the way to go. Focus on ones that reward gear. Very similar to what we would do with the Baleful stuff, with the garrisons and the shipyards. We want to make sure that we're focusing on the quests that reward us with gear, because gear is the name of the game. We want to get through the dungeons. We want to get through all of the stuff that we possibly can to gear ourselves for the raids, which is going to be the main focus of what we do here in Exiled Power. So normal dungeons actually won't help you that much. They're for leveling. They're for getting you to 110. If you aren't at heroic eye level and don't have any more useful world quests, then focus on your Order Hall and Suramar. And we're going to talk about Suramar in a second here. Those quest lines take priority over random heroics as well, because the world quests and the Suramar stuff has such great rewards, okay? And we're going to talk about those in a second here. But you want to make sure that you're doing your emissary quests at 110, and these give great reputation and order resources. Reputation is definitely coming back to Legion in force Reputation is important. There are emissary quests that you can do for a nice chunk of rep. Make sure you're doing those right off the bat. You will not regret it. They are daily, and you can do 4 world quests fitting a certain category, and they stack up to 3 days. So you don't have to log in as much, which is really, really nice. I always hated that part about Legion or Warlords of Draenor, where I felt like I had to log in every single day just to get stuff done. So they're trying to suss that out, trying to thin it out so you're not logging in every single day, which is great. Now, you can spend 6,500 order resources to upgrade an order set piece from 810 to 840. I really don't think you should do this, guys. Now, I'll tell you why. Order resources can be a pain to farm, and if you spend it freely, you're just going to waste them. Heroic and Mythic dungeons will gear you quicker than anything else, so don't worry about it. Don't waste your order resources. Save them, bank them for stuff that actually matters. All right, and the last little point here is that the Nightfallen rep is important. I just mentioned that you can do the emissary quest, but what's the point if you don't know which reps to do to get behind? So the Nightfallen, and here's why the Nightfallen are important. There are quest lines in Suramar that become available at certain points of the Nightfallen rep. So there will be a point where there are no quests in Suramar until you gain rep. So really focus on the Nightfallen stuff. That is going to be key in keeping things moving. It's kind of like a parallel motion. You get a bunch of rep with Nightfallen, you can move forward in Suramar. You get some more rep, you can move forward. You get where I'm going with this, guys. So continuing on our Suramar train, you can gain rep by doing world quests in Suramar. All right, that's simple enough, especially with the Withered Army training scenarios. You can get a lot, but you need to perform well. Obviously, better gear helps. So the Withered Army training scenarios gain you a lot of rep. Obviously, go in with the gear. You're going to do fine. You're going to get a lot of rep from that. And then just definitely make sure you finish the emissary quest in Suramar. It's the best rep available. So if you see emissary quests for Suramar, hop on those, do those right away. We're going to cap off this video, guys, with some tips for professions. So the guy who wrote this post here was only doing herbalism and alchemy, but after reading through some of the comments, I noticed there was a common trend. Most of the professions want you to go to Azuna. Let's see here. Herbalism, alchemy, skinning, and nope, that's the other one that doesn't. So herbalism and alchemy, enchanting and tailoring, I believe mining and blacksmithing all take you to Azuna to start. The only ones that I know of that don't take you to Azuna is skinning and leatherworking, which take you to High Mountain. So you don't have to start there, but eventually you'll do the quests, which we're going to talk about right now, the quests that will take you to these zones. So if you start in that zone, you're setting yourself up for success. What he's saying is that basically you want to do the gathering quests as you're leveling. It's kind of a pain to go back at 110 and do those quests. So if you know which zone to start in and you're starting them as you're leveling, you're really setting yourself up for a successful profession path in Legion. If you are a crafting quest, you can't use most of it until 110 anyways, so don't go far out of your way to do the quests. You can do them at 110. That's when you can wear all the gear anyways. That's when most of the gear is relevant. Don't worry about it, guys. So there's really cool profession things changing. If you haven't checked them out, check out all of these changes on Wowhead. These are some great tips for you guys. If you know any more tips for our friends that subscribe to the channel here, put them in the comments below. Let us know what you're doing. If you're on the beta, that's awesome. Talk to us about it, because not all of us got onto the beta. We didn't really get a great chance to play it as a team. But I do know a lot of the little tricks and tips here that hopefully will help you guys out. My final point here is set yourself up for success, right? Arm yourself with knowledge. If you know what to expect and you know and you kind of lay out a path for yourself, you're going to do a great job in Legion, especially leveling. Remember, leveling is a very small part of Legion. So don't focus so much on the leveling. Focus more on the end goal of where you want to be. If you want to be a Mythic Raider, that's great. You're pretty much, you know what path you want, all that stuff. But if you're still on the fence about what you want to do, start here. Start with some of these tips and work your way to the point where you're comfortable with what you're doing with your character and you have a goal in mind, right? It's all about setting goals in this game and what you want to do, because the world is your oyster, guys. I mean, honestly, it's what you want to do in the game that's important. So there you go. I hope you found these tips useful. Make sure to check out our website, exiledpower.com. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we'd love for you to subscribe. We try and stream as much as we can. Right now, we're only raiding on Tuesdays, but definitely check us out in Legion. My name is Kodiak. This has been another video for you guys, tips for Legion. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. See you later.